Collaboration. It's a word that means a lot of things to a lot of people, and it can be taken in certain directions depending on the field that it's used for and those who are partaking in said thing. For example, you can collaborate to get something done while not necessarily being together to do the task yourself, like an assembly line of people working on one part and then giving it to their collaborators to keep things going. Then, there's musical collaboration, where parties come together to make something special that they couldn't have done on their own. For Linda Ronstadt and Dolly Parton, they once did a duo of collaborations that were both magical and somewhat toxic to those involved. We'll break it down for you. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's start where most feuds start, at the beginning, before anything. In the country music industry, both men and women have charmed people for decades with their lyrics, either fun or emotional, and their incredible vocals, regardless of the range or pitch they had. For the women, during a certain era, the three that stood out the most was Dolly Parton, Linda Ronstadt, and Emmylou Harris. All three were incredible singers with great accolades, and eventually, they decided that the best thing for them all to do was to come together and make a record known as Trio. The point was as simple as it could be, to bring these three incredible talents together and show the world what would happen if their voices were brought into harmony in a way that their own individual albums and tracks couldn't have done on their own. Sure enough, it was an incredible hit. Now, don't get us wrong, there are plenty of times when collaborations like this happen just so they can make money or get some attention, but these ladies brought it with original tracks and covers of classic country tunes, and it was so well received that it won a Grammy Award. So, naturally, the ladies decided that they would try to come together to make Trio 2 and further build off the incredible music they had done together. And yet, even though the second album was made, it wasn't released until 12 years after the first one. So, what happened? Why did it take so long to make? Why wasn't there a Trio 3? And why did Linda and Dolly go to war with one another in their own country way? The answers can be found not in the music, but in what it took to make the music. Look, if you ask anyone how to describe Dolly Parton, they would tell you that she is the queen of country, is very careful about her looks, and works to keep those looks up, and that she's not afraid to show how country she is, and all of those things would be true. However, if you were to ask Linda Ronstadt about her, especially during the time of their feud, you'd hear that she was something she couldn't work with, because she was pretty much dedicated to everything. But the music at times. What did she mean by that? Well, you know how Eva Longoria is known for all the various products she's done. Dolly Parton did that long before Eva, as she used her branding to be anywhere and everywhere, whether it be through product lines, movie and TV appearances, etc. While that may be a part of being in the limelight, that rubbed Linda the wrong way, as she would later say on the matter. She gave her word. Her exact words at the time were, "I get so many irons in the fire. Sometimes I burn my own ass." When it came to trying to record songs for the two Trio albums, just getting Dolly in the dang recording booth was hard, with Linda saying they would regularly wait until the night before a recording session to say that she had something come up. I showed up, Emmy showed up, and the night before we started, Dolly sent us a fax saying there was something wrong with her infomercial and she had to go back for 10 days. If this were to happen one time, you could make things work, but this apparently happened repeatedly, and that was a huge reason that they couldn't get Trio 2 made in a good amount of time. By the time they started working on it, and then finally finished it, it had been 5 years. To further put this into the proper context for you all, you need to remember that these were three prominent country music singers, and especially after Trio, they were doing good work, concert tours, family life, and a whole bunch of other things. Their success was known, and they pushed to be even more successful, and yet, they did try and do the collaboration again, because they clearly felt it was worth the effort. Except Dolly didn't give it the same attention and love that Linda and Emmylou did, which is why Linda said later on, "I can't work with her. She didn't represent herself as being reliable." Can you blame her? Would you want to work with someone who wasn't reliable or kept making promises that they couldn't keep? No, of course not. Even if it was a family member, you'd hit a limit. And these three weren't family. They were singers who had a lot to do on their own time and then had to deal with one of their own, not being committed to a project that they all wanted to do. And that alone was a huge reason why Trio 3 never happened. If they attempted it, and Dolly kept being Dolly, it might have stayed in limbo for even longer. Now, being fair, we can't just talk about a feud from one side of the aisle. After all, we see things differently from those around us, even if that's maddening because the other side doesn't want to admit their own faults. But since Dolly Parton is a key part of this feud, we should let her talk about what she felt was the reason behind the collaboration failing. And Dolly indeed was being Dolly when she said, "I realized we're now just a bunch of old crotchety, cranky women set in our ways and getting up there around 50, going through change-of-life mood swings. You never know a true feeling from a hot flash. I thought, I don't need this. I ain't that old." That's Dolly. She tried to make it seem like it was just their emotions getting the best of them. But is that really all she thought about it? Not even close. For just like a feud often goes, she pointed the blame right back at Linda. Ronstadt loves to work in the studio and works so slow, it drives me nuts. I wanted to say, "Wake up, I got stuff to do." And that more than anything else can sum up not only this feud, but the nature of collaborations between musicians as a whole. If you're not fully in sync with one another, no boy band jokes, please, you're going to clash, as your personalities are entirely different, and the styles and speeds you like to take things at will be wildly different. If you want a perfect example of this, you need only look at a quartet called the Beatles. The Beatles were one of the biggest things to happen to music ever. Seriously, they came out of almost nowhere, helped turn the music world on its head, and the numerous #1 songs they made are still hits to this day. Yet, the Beatles are also famous for how they broke up and never truly worked together again, and the answer to why they broke up wasn't because of Yoko Ono, or even money issues, but because of who controlled the band. You'd think that, given all they did together, they would see each other as partners on equal footing. But that was never the case, because Paul McCartney was there. Yes, he was a genius in terms of singing, playing, and songwriting, but he always wanted something to happen in the way he wanted it, regardless of what the others felt. And this isn't us talking about it like that was what John Lennon and George Harrison had to say about him, and they frequently butted heads with McCartney. Harrison straight up left the band right before their final album and performance because he was tired of the controlling nature that McCartney had over them and refused to yield on it. It was Lennon and others who got through to Paul and helped bring George back for what would be their final live performance. And then, later on, when they did return to try and do something again, Paul immediately fell into old habits, and George couldn't wait to get out of there and do his own thing once again. And, oh, by the way, George was a hit on his own, and even started up his own collaboration group that did really well. No need for Paul McCartney. So as you can see, if the right people aren't together, you're destined for a split up. And that brings us back to Dolly and Linda. When you're feuding with someone, almost nothing is off the table, especially if you feel that what you're doing or what you're saying will leave a mark on the ones you're feuding with. Despite everything happening with Dolly Parton and Linda Ronstadt, Trio was a hit, and Trio 2 was being made. Yet thanks to the tension between two of the three ladies, things weren't exactly smooth, even after the album got done. In fact, Dolly Infamous said she didn't endorse it, despite her voice being in it. They b***ed a fit and dumped the greatest project ever. I was made to feel hurt, insulted, burdened with guilt. I would have lived up to my word, but my word wasn't good enough for them. But despite her distaste for what was happening, the album was another success. It got nominated for Best Country Album at the Grammys, and it even won Best Country Collaboration with Vocals. So, that was 2 collaborative albums that won 2 of music's highest awards. Not that Dolly would admit she was wrong about what happened. After all, she's Dolly Parton, and that would have gone against her pride more than a little bit. However, Linda was able to take a more diplomatic role, as some would say, and noted that despite all the problems, the three did work in the musical sense. I think we are good colleagues. Our relationship has always been based on a common love for traditional music. The sum is greater than the parts. And then she said that Parton does it her way, and that's it. So, is that it? Is that the end to the story of Trio? Not quite. Don't get us wrong. The third album definitely isn't happening. But in 2016, a twist occurred, as Dolly Parton, Emmylou Harris, and Linda Ronstadt came together for an interview talking about the Trio albums, each other, and whatever else was on their minds. And they were actually really good about it. For example, Linda praised the other two, noting, "Emmy and Dolly are great songwriters, so that helps. Emmy also stays up a whole lot later than either one of us put together, so she finds all the great songwriters and gets all the good songs before the rest of us got the chance to hear them." Harris was more than happy with that compliment, stating, "I'm a song finder." It was kind of left to the producers and us to just make suggestions. I don't think there was ever any disagreement about who should play on the records. Parton jumped in and made it clear that the three worked because they were good in the facets that make a collaboration like this work. I think there are also great musicians that are great on stage, and some that are great in the studio, and then there are those that are great on stage and in the studio. So usually, they try to pick the greatest of the great pickers that really record well and are familiar with the studio. Dolly continued by noting that when it came to the work of Trio, it was one of the best things she's ever participated in. I know, for me, this will always stand as one of the great musical things that I've ever done in my entire life. I've never been prouder of anything. I love these girls like sisters, but what we did as a trio, really, I think is going to stand up long after we're gone. She's probably right on that front. And it should be noted that Dolly did eventually apologize for what happened with the Trio albums and her role in not doing it properly and making the third one. So, better later than never. And that might just be the proper ending to this feud, not being one that, like many other legendary feuds, keeps building up the hate for the rest of time, but instead, one that resolves with reflection, acceptance, and appreciation for what did happen. Great music was made in this collaboration, and in the end, that's what they should be grateful for. And that's all from the Linda Ronstadt-Dolly Parton feud, and everything that went into making it both work and fail all at the same time. Had you heard of this collaboration before we made this video? And what did you think of what went on behind the scenes? Do you feel that Dolly Parton truly was at fault for what went wrong, and that they should have tried to make things right, so that Trio 3 could have been made? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.